Some people have mistaken it for being a heart doctor, and that is a terrible, terrible mistake to make. I am not a medical professional. A cartographer makes maps.
That's Kaitlin Yarnall, Chief Storytelling Officer at the National Geographic Society. Before she reached the top of the ladder at the National Geographic, an esteemed institution that is more than 100 years old, Kaitlin started there in 2005 making, maps.
I moved to DC for this job too. And I was practically a professional child, right?
Well, if only young Kaitlin could see herself now. For 2 decades across different roles, Kaitlin has helped shape stories that inspire the world.
It's interesting because on paper, it looks like I've been at one place forever, which is true. But I have lived lives here. I learned journalism here. I learned photography here. I've learned film production here. And in some ways, it's like the best graduate school one could go to.
So what is it truly like to grow up professionally in one place? And how do you move forward when the industry you're in undergoes a crisis or a wild technological shift? What and who will keep you going? I'm Camila Rente, and this is Impact After Hours, a show about pursuing a life of impact on and off the clock. Kaitlin, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Safe to say, Kaitlin, there's very few people who have never heard of the National Geographic. It was founded in, 1888. And if my math is correct, about 130 years. But for you specifically, I want to know how you were first introduced to the National Geographic. Was it through a magazine, one of the, a channel, or were you outdoorsy as a kid?
Yeah, the brand has persisted, right? And so for me personally, it's funny because people often ask me this, and I can't remember not knowing National Geographic. The magazine was in my house and in my grandparents' house my entire life, so it just was there. I'm going to date myself here. We didn't have a channel when I was a kid, nor did we have cable television in my house. Mm-hmm. But I do remember in school, the media cart being wheeled in and National Geographic specials being shown, right? So that was there. But I think it came from the magazine. And then I was a really outdoorsy kid. I grew up rural, outside, and so raised by, parents who had studied biology. So I think all of that kind of created the soup.
You started as a cartographer. I would love to hear what your day looked like, but also what is cartography?
Yeah. Some people have mistaken it for being a heart doctor, and that is a terrible, terrible mistake to make. I am not a medical professional. A cartographer makes maps. Mm-hmm. And I kind of stumbled into cartography in a college class and loved it. I loved the thought of it, the idea of it, the way that it married the right brain and the left brain. There's a lot of art and design and narrative to good mapping. There's also a lot of math and data analysis. And so I kind of stumbled into cartography, and then I got a job at National Geographic, and the rest is kind of history.
So you joined in 2005.
Correct.
So tell us what that first day looked like, and also, what maybe a top memory from those times.
I remember being in awe of the institution.
Yes.
Right. And I still feel that awe for the institution and the stewardship of this place and what it meant. It was really also interesting because I was joining a cartography mapping group that had such a legacy, right? And there were still a couple of the really old guard left who had worked, done everything by hand. And I knew this newfangled stuff, I think it was Illustrator 4.
Okay.
Which this is, I am aging myself, but this is when they still numbered Illustrator because it was so new in the releases of it. And Photoshop 4 or something, So it was interesting because I was like the kind of tech whiz, which is hilarious now to think about because I'm no longer that. But I remember like getting set up and just being almost like awestruck by all of it. Yeah.
But obviously, a lot has changed even for you and your career within
Oh, for sure.
the National Geographic. You went from cartographer to art director to executive director of the magazine, and then so much more. What has kept you at the organization? What has made all of this worth it in terms of, the ebbs and flows of your career within one institution?
Yeah, it's funny because I never meant to be here 21 years. Like it never was a thing that I was like running at as a goal. I have kept learning.
Yes.
I've kept learning. I've had new challenges that has kept me, and I've had distinct chapters here. My job has changed. I remember when I moved from really being like in a production seat to being in an editor seat. I remember when I went from being like, working on stories to being much more of a manager. I moved from the magazine to do fully impact nonprofit work. So there's been so much, I've had careers within a career here.
Yes.
But I would say the thing that has kept me has been the people, the stories, the commitment to excellence, and just this institution. I mean, I can't think of a more storied, interesting place.
And talking about your different careers within the National Geographic.
Yes.
I wanted to touch on this a little bit because we have talked about reinvention on the podcast and how you can reinvent yourself even if you're staying within, in the same place.
I've never been one of those people, I'm still not, who has a 5-year, 10-year, 20-year plan. Like I never really knew what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Yes.
I will tell you that what has worked for me has been remaining interested and running at things I liked. And then the other thing I'll say is just not saying no. I look back on some, assignments I was given, teams I was asked to lead, like initiatives to figure out. And I'm like, I had no business doing that. I was not qualified. I didn't have the expertise. I just said, okay, yes, I can do that. I don't know where that almost blind confidence came from, but I would say yes, and then I'd go figure it out, right? And that meant finding really good people to work with, reading, getting smart, asking. I love a desk side briefing. But I think that was a huge part of it was I just became kind of like almost the yes girl and was flexible and figuring it out. And so, again, it's not like I had this trajectory planned out. You couldn't have. Or that I was ever angling for the next thing. I was just like trying to do the really best I could at every stage and then saying yes to interesting opportunities.
Yeah, I think also, I would say personally, one of the things that I look for, or I don't even need to say it, but the learning piece.
Yes.
In every chapter of what I do, I feel like if there's no longer an opportunity to learn, whether that's learning how to manage your team, learning a new skill set, if that goes away, then the purpose of you continuing on that vocation or that career path, at least for me personally, diminishes.
Agree. I have always said I will leave here when I'm bored. And it's the same thought, and yeah. I'm a nightmare when I'm bored, right? Or when I'm not learning or I don't have a new challenge to sink my teeth into. And I'll tell you that every time I've started to feel like that, some new thing has come up. Either I have manifested it, I have, said, hey, it'd be cool to do this, and I have capacity, or an opportunity has presented itself internally or externally in the form of a partnership or a collaboration. And so, yeah, I agree. It's interesting because on paper, it looks like I've been at one place forever, which is true.
Yeah.
But I have lived lives here.
That's a good way of putting it because you've also had I would say, very different roles.
Yes. Yes. And it's funny because, I learned journalism here. I learned photography here. I've learned, film production here. Like, and in some ways it's like the best graduate school one could go to.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, exactly.
But I think the only reason I was able to do all of those different things and work within all those realms is because I wanted to learn. Right? Like I knew I didn't know anything.
Yeah. And I think if we were to find the right person to talk to about taking on challenges, that's not specific to, the National Geographic. I'm going to talk about a few challenges that we're all experiencing in the media business and then just workplace in general. So what have been some of the biggest hurdles / moments in your storied career at the National Geographic, and what has stayed the same? So the biggest changes, and then what has stayed the same?
Biggest changes. I mean, you think I started here at 2005, which doesn't sound like, to me, it doesn't sound that long. It's a, ask my kids and they're like, that's forever ago, right? But
Yeah.
2005, there was no iPhone. There was no iPad.
Yes.
The internet was wildly different, right? Like there was no Instagram. And so for me, there's all the technological changes. And when I was working, at the magazine, digital was encompassed in that. And I remember distinctly the day we launched our Instagram account, and it was done by a photo editor who literally just grabbed at Nat Geo because it was a newfangled thing. And we handed the password over to all our photographers and we're like, upload some stuff. Let's try this. It's now the biggest brand on social media, right? Like, so I remember that's like a great story. That's not really a challenge, but like the challenges that have come with all of this, I'll be honest, 2008 and the kind of advertising crisis and the financial downturn was hard.
Yeah.
And it was like bloody, like in terms of like restructuring, reorganizing, like cutting staff. That was really hard. I also think, the realities of we had to figure out how to be present on mobile, on a tablet. When the iPad came out, it came loaded with National Geographic magazine. That was one of the most exhilarating processes, also really challenging because we didn't even know what it was. Like no one knew what a tablet was.
Yes.
But to do that, the hard reality was we weren't getting more money. We weren't getting more people. We had to repurpose the people we had, repurpose or cut, right? Repurpose the money we had or cut. Like it was, oftentimes looking back, we remember the cool parts of it, but it was really challenging. It was really challenging to design new workflows, to figure out how to do this. But then really from a human perspective, and that's the thing that I remember being the hardest, was people who had made this place, whose skills didn't translate into new formats and new mediums. Like, there might not have been a place for them. And that was really, really hard. Those were massive challenges of just like the economic shrinking, the platforms expanding. None of us really know what was going on. That was hard. I also think another challenge, which has turned out to be an incredible opportunity for me personally, was when I decided to walk away from publishing in the magazine and really focus on how we do storytelling for impact in the nonprofit side. What an opportunity. What an amazing thing. Also, how terrifying, right? Because like storytelling is what built the house that we sit in.
Yes.
But we did it as a media company. Even though we were nonprofit, we did it as a media company, in terms of the way we thought and operated. And so to figure out how to do it in a nonprofit way, how to give grants, how to stand up an impact production house, how to really change the philosophy of our archives. And what does it mean to have the archives of a nonprofit versus a media company? All these kind of thoughts and challenges, which now I can stand up and say, isn't this amazing? They were scary. And there was no road map for it. And there was, doubt, along the way from outside and inside. And I think we've landed in a good place, but that's an ever evolution.
Definitely.
In terms of things that have stayed the same, I think the commitment to excellence, the commitment to really good visual stories, and then just like the best people in the world I get to work with. That is like addicting.
Yes.
To be in the presence and have that every day. I don't know how you ever walk away from that.
And it's an incredible combination.
Of course.
That people try to look for in one place, or they might have one piece, one component, but not the other. And that could, there's like a lot of trade-offs there. But I am super excited about your role as Chief Storytelling Officer and, the projects that you do and the initiatives. What does that responsibility actually look like for you?
Yeah, it is really leading the impact storytelling for this organization. So that breaks down into several kind of like buckets of work, functionally, tactically that I work on, along with the thought leadership of what does it mean to tell the story of this place and to hold the storytelling. We give grants and run programs. So we're the world's largest funder of individual storytellers, which I'm immensely proud of. So that means we give money to photographers and filmmakers and writers and artists. And I love that. And again, what a privilege, right? I also have the, privilege of working with our Impact Story Lab, which is our in-house production team, which does everything from, our traditional in-house production of brand sizzles and everything and all the media that's going into our museum, but also we create media for the express purpose of creating impact, be that policy change or social narrative change, which we do a lot of that work. I manage our archives, which we call our special collections, which you can imagine the treasure that is, and also the responsibility.
Yeah.
Our mapping and geography, I haven't left my roots entirely. We have the chief cartographer and the geographer who work for me and their teams. And geography is our middle name. Like we take that really seriously. And I also run a revenue generating center that's a B2B group that we do storytelling trainings for other groups, which I love. It's called Storytellers Collective. And that was another one where one day I got a little bored, and next thing we know, we have a business. That's kind of like the nuts and bolts of what I do.
You're not busy, Kaitlin.
No, but see, the thing is, I'm a nightmare if I'm bored. I've said this.
What would you say are your top 2, I don't know, stories, moments from since you've started working at National Geographic?
I can remember like some stories I worked on for the magazine where I got to go on an archaeological dig in Panama and see gold being pulled out of the ground for the first time in thousands of years. Like from that to today, when I get to go out with our explorers, the people we give grants to, I just recently in March went to this big convening of our African filmmakers at a big congress called, Africa Refocused. It's our initiative, and to be around these incredible filmmakers and watch their clips and sit with them. So anytime I can get out in the field with the work, and I could tell you, I got to go to the top of the Sagrada Familia when it was under construction, to the archaeological digs, to the dive sites I've been on, and the mountain gorillas, like all of those. But the unifying thing is getting out of the building and out of the field. And then I'd say the other thing I really just can't quite believe are the people I've been able to meet through this job and this position. And, very early on in my career, I got to meet the Dalai Lama, because he was here doing a visit and, he touched my head. I mean, I still can't believe that happened. To working on it.
It's like a fake story.
It is a fake story. I actually thought it might have been fake when it was happening to me. I was like, is this actually happening? From that to, I got to work on a food blog with Jose Andres. before he was like global superstar, you know. And I like the access and the encounters you have with people, and those are like the famous ones, but like all kinds of people, you know, like it's just incredible.
What are, let's say, three things required in your, you know, sort of purview of effective storytelling? Like what made those, you know, good, powerful stories?
I think good characters. And I say this even if it's an animal story. Like
yes.
Good characters that people can relate to. People have to see themselves in the story. And so the characters do that. I think, and I'll say this because I work at National Geographic, but I believe it's true, like visuals. And part of this is our brand promise. And not that there can't be incredible storytelling without visuals, but for National Geographic, like the visuals have to just be next level.
Yes.
And then I think really there is something about knowing your audience in the world and the timing at which you put a thing out and how you position it and making sure that it hits at the right time. It's important.
This is my favorite part of the show, which is switching off work mode. Kaitlin, if that's all right with you, and play a lightning round of seemingly random questions. Are you ready to play?
Love it. Yes.
What was the last song you listened to?
I'm in a Bad Bunny phase right now.
Any specific song?
No, man. I'm like here for the canon.
Okay,
yeah. Like I mean, I liked him before, and then that Super Bowl performance, just like everyone else. It's so cliche. Like every other person in America, that's my jam on my way to work these days when I was driving in.
It solidified your love for Bad Bunny. I know I mentioned we were going to go off work mode, but this is related a little bit to your work or your first time working. What did you do with your first paycheck?
Paid my rent.
Paid your rent.
Paid my rent, bought some grown-up clothes. Like, you know, like realized.
What are grown-up clothes?
Oh, at that point, like this was like early 2000. This was Bush era Washington, right? Like that was like, it was like pencil skirts and, you know, like.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the look.
It was the look, right?
Okay. Well, I suppose you were very wise with that first paycheck.
I know.
Some people could go crazy with their first paycheck.
No, it wasn't that much.
Okay.
I was living in an expensive city.
You bought a pencil skirt. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Okay. Describe your favorite place using the 5 senses. What does it look and smell like? What can you hear and touch? And if it had a taste, what would it be?
It is damp and cool, and it is shades of gray and blue, and it smells salty and earthy at the same time, and kind of it feels spongy and damp and this is not sounding appealing. It's amazing.
Kaitlin, I was going to ask, where are we right now?
We're in the redwood forest where I grew up.
Okay.
You know, on the coast in the redwoods. Like it is cliche that it's home, but like something about the redwoods and Northern California and the ocean and the damp, cool, salty, green, gray, blue of it. Like it's still home.
Speaking of great visuals, the way you describe that, you know, is helping me at least visual, even if I've never been there, obviously. Final question in this lightning round. Who has had the biggest impact in your life?
My parents. You know, again, it's like I still am lucky to have them, and I'm incredibly close with them, and they're, you know, helping me raise my kids now. Like it's, but they put me outside a lot. They helped, they always exposed me to like the best books and people. And I was a reader, and I was outside, and my mom was a teacher. I think that had a huge influence. My dad was a firefighter in my town, and instilled in me that both of them did, but this like sense of like serving people and wanting to be with people and not that, like I say, I hesitate because I don't work in a service industry. I've never, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a firefighter. I'm not a surgeon, but I that is like who I am in terms of like working with people and
Yes.
and wanting to know people, wanting to understand people, and then managing people. They like so much I can trace back, and it's taken me a long time to do this, to who they were and how I was raised, and I, hope to do that well with my own kids.
We had a live event very recently here in New York, and we were just talking about our parents and how seeing them lead by example. And it's not necessarily that your parents are doctors and you want to be a doctor. It's just how they treat others. And so I just remember that as you were describing how some of those core principles that they may have, accidentally or intentionally passed on to you, that you live and also share today with your peers and obviously you as a parent now. So sort of those principles and core values.
It's core values and, just a sense of curiosity about the world and other people. I think, they still have that. And it is who I am.
Yeah. And I guess just to close on that note is curiosity and wanting to learn more about other people, your neighbors, people you come across at the grocery store or the library, wherever you might be. That actually has, a bigger impact on us as people, because if you learn how others live, even if you may not agree or there are certain differences, there's a connection that you're still able to build, and a lot of good things can come from there, right, if you will.
And I think we need more of it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, my final question that is actually I'm excited to hear your answers, because we always ask our guests this question: what is your go-to after hours media? What have you been watching, listening to, or reading lately?
I'd say, I'm a reader.
Yes.
I'm a reader. I'm in the middle of Arundhati Roy's memoir right now, and I am like taking it slow, one, because it's dense.
It's dense.
But two, because she is one of my favorite writers. The God of Small Things was like a pivotal kind of book for me. And this, her memoir, is called Mother Mary Comes to Me, and it's about her relationship with her mom, but it's also about like India in the last century. And it's just, it's like, I equate it to like, it's like eating. It's like a rich meal. And so I'm like eating it slowly and trying to savor it. That's what I'm doing right now. But I mean, I watch things too. I'm not away from the screen. I watched Train Dreams recently, the film.
Yes.
And I can't stop seeing it in my head. Like I think about it. I see still frames in it. There's so much good stuff. I wish I had more time.
And then Bad Bunny.
And Bad Bunny, because like we need balance.
Yes, exactly.
I've recently introduced my 5-year-old to Selena.
Yes.
It's a 1990s pop song, and she's loving it. And I am like loving that music right now too. Like it's like nostalgic for me.
You know what? Honestly, I suppose Gen Z and younger, I hear them knowing some of the songs that we grew up to.
I love it.
Yeah, me too. I don't feel as old.
Yes.
But before we wrap things up, Kaitlin, I know there are some exciting things that you want to share with our audience.
Yes, so I am super excited because we are opening the National Geographic Museum of Exploration in June. So June 26th is the public opening. You can buy tickets online. It's called the MO, affectionately, the Museum of Exploration. It's over 100,000 square feet here in downtown DC. We are finally going to have a museum fit for purpose, fit for brand. It has, photo galleries and a courtyard with animal bronze sculptures and a big exhibit on the history of National Geographic and an education center. And I could go on and on. It's very cool. Please come.
Awesome. Well, Kaitlin, this has been so fun. I learned quite a bit, not just about you, but, for the last, I don't know, half hour or so that we've been together, I felt like I was working at the National Geographic.
Good.
But thank you so much for joining me on Impact After Hours.
Thank you for having me.